Welcome back on the Marching to Madness College Basketball Zoomcast podcast with my friend Fran McCaffery out in Iowa City, Iowa with the Hawkeyes. He's got 215 wins with the Hawkeyes. He's gotten them into 5 NCAA tournaments in his tenure. Interesting stat I found out, Coach, you got to as high as number 3 last year. You did it also in 15-16. But that was the first time the Hawkeyes had been ranked that high since the Dr. Tom Davis days, 1987 through 88.
I'll tell you, that 87 team was really special. They won 30 games, and we really just tried to play the game the right way. Ken, obviously you start with a guy like Garza. You don't get too many like him, but the way the guys utilized his strengths. We played through him and made sure we got shots for everybody else. We got great play off the bench. But I think the one thing that really made me happy as a coach, when I would talk to people that watched our team play, they would say, boy, you move and share the ball. And that's what you always want to hear as a coach. That means you have unselfish kids.
Unselfish, yeah. And of course, Luka Garza, Joe Wieskamp off to the NBA with the Detroit Pistons, the San Antonio Spurs. I was just curious, and I know we know the stats and things, but could you just talk about how they carved their name into the history of Iowa basketball forever, and then how you see them fitting in Detroit and San Antonio?
Okay, starting with Joe, he's a guy who grew up in Iowa. So, I started watching him play when he was in elementary school because he played with my boys. We offered him when he was a freshman. He committed to us as a freshman. And I knew he was going to be a guy that came in and had great impact immediately, which he did. He was on an NCAA tournament team. He's a double-figure scorer as a freshman. Sophomore year, he had a really good year. Was thinking about coming out. And as you know, there was no combine. There was no workouts. You didn't really know. You got feedback, but you didn't really know what it meant. So he came back and he had as good a year statistically as anybody in the country in the wing position in terms of his shooting percentages. He also plays defense. He's a tough guy. He had a couple of injuries. He just tapes it up and goes out there and performs, never complains. So in terms of his ability to step up to the next level, there's no doubt he can do it. He's got size. He's got length. He's got character. He's an unselfish guy. He's not a mistake maker, and he's going to be as good a shooter as they have in that league, which is saying a lot, because he also has unbelievable range. So I think you'll see him carve his niche as a shooter, but you'll see him do other things as well. He's a tremendous rebounder out of the wing position, which was a very underrated part of his game. As far as Garza is concerned, we signed him. He was not from here. He's from Washington, D.C. I had the opportunity to see him play early, offered him early, started every game for us since he got here, and just kept getting better. And I think that's what you have to appreciate about him. He came from being a quality Big Ten starter to the best player in college basketball.
Yeah.
And then you watched him in particular in the summer league. People were sort of surprised. Like, wow, we didn't know he was that athletic. Boy, we didn't know he could shoot like that. Well, if you watched him play, he's a terrific athlete for a big guy. He runs. He's the first guy down the floor. He catches everything. He plays ball screens really well. He talls up and stays out of foul trouble. He shot 44% from 3 last year and killed it this summer in the summer league. So I'm just thrilled that both of those guys are going to have great opportunities with really impressive franchises. They're both incredibly happy, and I'm happy for them.
Coach, Jordan Bohannon falls in that same line, I think, of caliber, on and off the court, from what I read and from what I know. And he begins his 6th year. I'm just curious, he's an extension for you out there, isn't he, on the hardwood?
Yeah, he is. And it's interesting because I've never coached a guy for 6 years, because even in the 1 year he redshirted, he played 10 games.
Okay.
So he's been around for a long time. He knows exactly what we want. He's a fearless competitor. He can play more than one position. He's as tough a guy as I've ever coached, and that says a lot because I've coached some tough guys. And when I say tough, I mean he's fearless when it comes to road games, crowd, physicality, defensively, time and score, pressure of the game. He has made big shot after big shot. I think that's what he's known for, Ken, but he also has more assists than anybody that ever played at Iowa, which tells you that, you don't see too many guys that have more assists than anybody in the history of the program, but also will make more threes than anybody who ever played in the Big Ten. That's two pretty impressive things to say about anybody.
Oh, definitely. And he'll be back on the court with your son, Connor. I was reading some stuff. I didn't realize the severity of his hip injuries. He talked about 2 torn labrums. He had them, I think, repaired right this summer.
He did.
Tough kid.
Well, what's crazy? I've coached a long time, and we never had a lot of hip stuff over the years. And Bohannon had the same exact thing a few years ago. That's why he redshirted the 1 year. He had both hips done. He actually had the first one done and then was trying to play with just getting the one. Then he went and got the other one. Connor got one done right after the other because they both were really bothering him towards the end of the season. So, we were obviously pretty slow with him this summer as we should have been. It's a lengthy rehabilitation process to get both hips working and then to get your explosion back. So where you can go by somebody or you get to the rim and you can extend. Plus he's also trying to play 2 sports still. So, he'll be at practice for baseball one day, basketball another, but he looks good, Ken. He looks really good right now. And I'm really happy for him and excited for him because we got a young team, but he brings a lot of veteran leadership to it.
Yeah, and Keegan Murray, 61.5% from 2 inside, and then your third leading rebounder. Could he have a breakout season this year?
I think he will, and we need him to, quite honestly. He's incredibly talented, very humble kid, really good defender. He's got to take that step without Wieskamp and Garza. Okay, Keegan, shoot that high number again. But the other thing is, he didn't shoot a ton of threes last year, Ken, but he's a really good 3-point shooter, and that will set up his drive. So he's going to have the ultimate green light for us to take that next step and be a high double-figure scorer.
Yeah, and so athletic. I mean, he's, I think on the defensive side of the ball, his length has to worry, coaches are trying to game plan against him.
That's true. And the other thing, it gives me the flexibility he can guard bigger guys with that length. But he really gives guys that are his size, a little bit smaller, problems because that length you were referenced. He's got about a 6'11.5" wingspan, so he's one of those guys. I mean, he'll contest, but he'll also get a piece of it when you're trying to shoot over him, and he'll come from the weak side and block it as well. He's got great timing.
Yeah, and now Patrick, your younger son, good role player. He got 14.6 minutes per game last year. Just curious how you see his role expanding here in 21-22.
Well, I think the first thing for him is to really, he's gotten a lot stronger and he's improved his stamina because he would have played more minutes last year, but he just, we got to get his stamina to where he can play, maybe go from, like you said, 15 minutes a game to maybe 24, 25, maybe 28 to 30. We'll see. But without Joe, we need him to be a double-figure scorer for us. When he was playing heavy minutes, he was getting his double figures. He can really score. So we'll see what his 3-point shooting looks like, his drives to the basket. He gets to the free throw line. His length enables him at almost 6'9". He's a high flyer, so he can block shots and get to the rim. Like I said, get to the free throw line. So I'm really excited for Patrick.
Now, do they get the basketball genes from you or your wife?
Definitely from my wife.
Player. Yeah.
Well, I was okay. She was an All-American, so they
really?
definitely get it from her. Yes.
Where did she play?
She played at the University of Notre Dame. She
played for
really? McGraw. She was actually McGraw's first recruiting class. Yeah.
Buffett's one of my favorite coaches. I really like her. They had the women's Final Four here in Tampa a couple of years ago, and I finally got to meet her. It was a real treat. Talk a little hoops.
Well, you know what? I mean, she and I go way back because we were coaches together at Lehigh back in the 80s, and then we were together again at Notre Dame. Matter of fact, my wife was on her staff when we started dating. So I'm really good friends with Muffet and her husband, Matt. And most recently saw them when she was honored by Dick Vitale at his V Foundation event in Florida back in the spring and summer. So good friend, Hall of Famer. What else can you say about Muffet McGraw? She's in the Hall of Fame and deserves to be in there. I'm thrilled for her.
Definitely. Dickie V, he does such a good job with that, just around the clock, really. I know he has his gala, but he's always, talking about the fight, for pediatric cancer. I really think people need to stop and just look at what all he's done. He's got a heart of gold. Now that you mention him.
Yeah, well, if you've ever been to this event, I mean, it will blow you away. Like you said, it comes from the heart, the intensity level, and you say, boy, but who can raise 6.5 million in one gala?
Really?
But you said it. It's a year-round thing for him. He never stops. He doesn't just show up and make a heartwarming speech, which he does. Yes. I mean, he goes right for your heart, but he spends the entire year building to that moment. Yet in one evening, $6.5 million comes in. It's just amazing. And I appreciate you mentioning that and mentioning him.
Yeah.
And I'm proud to be a part of it. My wife and I have been a part of his work for years. He comes up to Iowa and he'll do some V Foundation events in our state. He's good friends with the Matteels, who help facilitate that here. So we've done a lot here and then we've done a lot there, and he goes all over and he never stops, and his energy level is infectious.
Yeah. It's hard to believe he's 80 years old.
It's hard to believe. He doesn't act it. And that's the way we like him.
Yeah, well, I've always heard, man, if you don't act your age, you're going to live longer. So I try not to as much as possible.
Good for you. Exactly right.
I wanted to ask you about your recruiting class. You got a kid, a transfer from North Dakota, Philippe, help me with this, Rabraka.
Yep.
That's it. And I think, and you got several kids coming in at all positions. What are you trying to address with this group? Tell me what they're strong on.
Well, I felt like we needed another front court guy. Phillips, a veteran. He's an international guy with international experience, but he was a really good player at North Dakota. He's got 2 years of eligibility. He's really skilled. He's tough. He's a good athlete. He can stretch the floor. He can put it on the deck. He's very unselfish. Perfect fit for our style of play. And a guy that's going to be an immediate impact player for us. Peyton Sanford's a freshman, about 6'7", 6'8", who's really a good shooter. So when you lose Wieskamp, that was kind of our thought process. Get another guy about that size that can shoot the ball. He's also really skilled, really talented, smart. And then we got the Riley Mulvey kid to class up. So we'll see how he develops. He's 6'11" with a 7-foot wingspan. He can run. He's up to 240. He should be a high school senior. So, we're not putting too much pressure on him, but he might get a chance to play this year without Luka.
Interesting schedule. I was reading it as well. You got 31 games. You got a good, tough non-conference schedule. I see Virginia on there, and I see Iowa State, of course, in the Cy-Hawk series. Talk a little bit about your schedule and how you put it together.
Well, we played a few more home games this year with a younger team and with losing 2 NBA guys, like you pointed out earlier. We're all going to play the ones you mentioned, but also play Utah State up in Sioux Falls at that event that we really enjoyed. We played Colorado a few years ago. Last year we played Gonzaga up there, and it'd be a great crowd. Last year we didn't have a crowd, so that'll be fun. Yeah. So we try to challenge them, but we also try to keep them home a little bit so we can kind of figure out what we got. what our rotations are going to look like, get these young guys, get their feet wet, and get ready for the Big Ten slate.
Last thing, Coach, as you look on the college basketball landscape right now, all of society has survived so much with, of course, COVID-19, the global pandemic, the racial injustice that permeated the country therein. Then we get down to things like the transfer portal. We get down to things, that are college basketball centric. Talk a little bit about where you think the game is right now.
Well, it's different than it's ever been. I thought we did a really good job last year. I really commend Danny Gavin and his crew to make sure we got the NCAA tournament in, not having had the opportunity to play it the year before. So I'm really proud of him and thankful for he and his staff to have worked so diligently to make sure we had a season. I thought we addressed the social issues appropriately. We would read a statement and we would kneel in support, and then we would stand for the anthem. That's what the guys wanted to do. We gave them the option to do what they wanted to do, and that's what they wanted to do. And I thought we handled that really well. Cool. But as you move forward into the college basketball future, it will never be the same as it was with the transfer portal and NIL. I think anybody that you would ask about NIL, they would say, well, obviously, an individual should be able to profit from their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah.
Especially when others are profiting from their name, image, and likeness. So I think everybody agreed, although the line is getting blurred, it's becoming pay for play, which is not what it was supposed to be, but that's reality, especially when you're talking about $1 billion entity, which the NCAA men's basketball tournament is. The transfer portal will also be affected by that. And what we're all hoping is, recruiting wouldn't get down to, okay, we want you, all right, well, who's going to give me the most money? It should not deviate from, okay, where do I fit? Where do I want to spend the next 4 years of my life? Where am I going to get the kind of education that I want, the opportunity that I want that fits my talent, fits that system? Where am I most comfortable when I make the visit? But the NBA puts a lot of pressure on these kids to leave early, because they draft early, they draft young. So you're feeling like if I don't go now, I'm losing opportunity, and I don't like that. But again, we deal with reality. That's what's happening. So we give our guys the best advice we can give them at the time to see if they should go or not. They have the opportunity to talk to agents now, which they didn't before. You could talk, but now you can go a lot further with that. So it's one of those things, Ken, where everything's changed, and we're just going to have to adjust.
And adjust we will, all across society.
Yes, we
Coach,
will.
It's a pleasure having you on, man. I always enjoy your time, and hopefully maybe during the season we can do this again when things are a little bit more clear.
Well, you know what? It's always fun talking with you, and I would look forward to that, Ken. Thanks so much.
Thanks. Good luck to you.
Take care.